government or an empire. It has everything to do. Because in order to restore the American empire or the American dynasty or whatever people want to call it, because I see people out there calling themselves American citizens. And I see people out there saying America's going to fall, America's falling, and America's being destroyed. America's been destroyed. America started being destroyed not long after a lot of these pilgrims started jumping off the Mayflowers and these other boats. Okay? The United States is in trouble. America was basically destroyed by the people that overran the Americans in America from Europe through and used a lot of these different factions of people on some whole other agenda that followed a lot of the people that ran away from the tyranny and abuse into the Americas, and they did it by infiltrating the United States. You know, because a prime example is what I found out when I was researching Texas, and the reason I did some research, and I'm going back into this governmental stuff, the reason I was researching Texas is because my family on my father's side had hundreds of acres in Tejas, which was before it became a part of the United States, so-called Mexico. And we were Carrizos, something like that. But we had hundreds of acres. And I was trying to do some research on some of the information I got from my dad. And one of the things that I found that a lot of people are not aware of, because people are always on some whole, well, what is it with Texas? What kind of rogue state is that? Because Texas seems to be on some whole other stuff from all the other states. You can bet your bottom dollar Texas is on some whole other stuff beyond the other states. This is what took place in Texas. The Europeans came over, you know, there was the first factions that, you know, preferred the way we did things, and then after we became demonized by these people that followed them here, trying to stop them from being liberated and free and, you know, stop them from escaping the tyranny, we wound up, the melanin-rich people of the various empires, or the empire of various factions of the Americas, getting overrun. And what happened is we were run from place to place to place. You know, we would run from Louisiana and run up the Mississippi River. And a lot of our brethren ultimately wound up in so-called Mexico in what was called Tejas. And it was like, yo, can y'all help us get these crazy people up off our backs? We didn't know what the problem is. Now, how were we supposed to know what we were dealing with? We didn't know we were dealing with people in the blood feuds. We didn't even know what that was. It wasn't our get down. We didn't know we were into people that were into incest and child molestation. Wasn't in our language. Wasn't part of our get down. We didn't know anything about that stuff. We didn't know we were dealing with people that were into cannibalism and eating people. It wasn't a part of our get down. So we ran, and we're still running. These people have a tendency to run us up and down the continent because we keep moving to try to get away from them. And wherever we go, they follow us. If some island popped up in the middle of the ocean and not a dang thing was on it growing anywhere, and all melanin-rich people said, well, let's go there. We'd go there, and these people would come out in planes, helicopters, and boats and start screwing with us, dropping explosives, poison in the water, or whatever the case may be, for whatever reason, for people to swear up and down that they want to be separate from us and don't want to have anything to do with us, and why don't y'all go somewhere else, or whatever the case may be. Whenever we go somewhere else, these people follow us. So I don't get it. You know, either you want us away from you or you don't. At any rate, I digress. But what happened is, ultimately, when the country of Mexico relinquished what is currently identified as Texas to the United States, well, at the time Tejas, to the United States, what became Texas. Texas contacted the federal government. The heads of Texas contacted the federal government. They said, listen, we'll become a part of your union, but we aren't ceding or giving up off of any land whatsoever. We're keeping all land. We're not disclosing or relinquishing any of it to you. But what you can do is y'all can be responsible for these niggas we found here, and you guys can keep them off of our backs. So what the federal government of Texas inherited was the melanin-rich people that the Europeans found there. So Texas can basically step out at any time. That's why they do. They're trying. It's ethnic cleansing. They're trying to ethnic cleanse the melanin-rich people they found there up off of the land, despite the fact that these were the same people that, you know, helped them to survive. But what they did is the federal government sent representatives or ambassadors to meet with what they called various chiefs of these different tribes. Now, I found it interesting that nobody identified which so-called tribes these so-called chiefs were supposed to be from. And what they did is they had all of them sign, or so they say. See, I submit to you, they may not have signed a dang thing, but they had them sign. They gave them blank pieces of paper and said, this is what we agree on, verbal agreement. This is what we agree to, and this is our verbal agreement, and this is the arrangement. And they're supposed to have handed these people blank sheets of paper and had people put X's all down on these sheets of paper. And they put names beside these sheets of paper. And these Europeans, after they left this band of male so-called chiefs that they interacted with from various factions of the Americans, they went back to the federal government and typed up, drafted, and created the treaty after the fact. Nobody ever saw it, read it, or knew what the terms and conditions were. And I submit to you that that's fraud and fraudulent, and therefore it's voidable. Not void, but voidable. And we don't know if these people signed this crap or not, because you just have a bunch of X's on blank sheets of paper. That's what they did. That's how Texas is standing. Now, I'm digressing again. Let's get into the spiritual stuff. I'm saying all that to say we are going to have to resurrect the American people who are a spiritual people, who were always a spiritual people, who have to first build, reactivate the power from within them, and then start emanating the power from inside to out. And as you expand and you amplify your frequency at which you vibrate so that you can resonate in I don't like to use the word harmonic because it reminds me too much of harm and being harmful, but a concord so that you can resonate in a concordance with the omniverse and the omniscience of omnipotence, if that makes any sense to anybody, because you have to get back in accord with the, for lack of better words, cosmic, or what you guys call creator, because you're one with it, the dark night sky and the dark soils of Americas and the dark tree trunks of the Americas and your dark complexion goes with this. You're going to have to unify back into the oneness of the Meta Netter or Mother Nature or whatever, however you guys want to word it. You got to get back on an appropriate resonance. And one of the best ways to do that is to first become aware that what you have been following and chasing and giving your power to was anti-life, anti-feminine, because it's patriarchal. If you're anti-feminine, you're anti-life, because life comes through the female, and I'm sure I'm going to aggravate a lot of brothers on this one, and I'm not sure if I really care at this point. We have to do what we have to do to free the people here that we're trying to hold the grid and the light so we can free the continent. Once you free the people and the minds of the people, then you can, free the landmass and then throw the grid up, because as you amplify your resonance and then you start moving this frequency that some people call an aura away from you and pushing it out, further and further out, then it starts to encompass a lot of what's going on around you, and you can make a change in the world, because that's really the only way that we're going to be able to do it, because we are not, what's the word I'm looking for? We are not the ones to get on some whole blood feud, just wipe out people. That's never been us. Now you do have the occasional nut that wants to do some drive-by and whatever, and again, I'm submitting that some of those are agents and trained marksmen and not the people that you think doing it. But the fact of the matter is we're going to have to try to secure the planet at a spiritual, from a spiritual place. When you go way out in space and you look back at Earth and you see a lot of this so-called light dance that takes place looking down on the planet, what looks like electricity, similar to the electricity that bounces around in your brain and whatever, they're really the electric impulses of thought. So we're going to have to get into using changing the way we think. And, you know, I wasn't attempting over the last 8 shows to insult any of your gods or your churches or your temples or your religions or your skin colors or your races or your beliefs or your secret orders and secret societies. What I was attempting to do was show you what was going on and to move you away from it, because you're giving your power to the very thing that's destroying all life everywhere. Now, if you have a problem, if you don't care, then you have the power, especially if you're very melanin rich, you can take a back door out of here. Now, there are some Europeans that can do it because some of them did what they were supposed to do. Most of them failed to use these so many hundred years that our people were unconscious, asleep, unaware, and unawake, and out of it to do what they were supposed to do. One, they were supposed to, for those that did not want to become melanin rich and did not want to get into the bloodline, they had the option of evolving spiritually to work on amplifying their power and frequency. Too many of them spent too much time trying to kill off melanin rich people to actually take any time whatsoever to evolve spiritually. The other option that they had, which is faster than all the years and years of training, is to acquire melanin richness. But because they hated the very thing that they needed, they were trying to kill off those that had melanin richness as opposed to getting their own melanin from those that had melanin richness. Now, listen to the definition of the word grafting, because I hear people using this all the time, and they don't seem to understand what the word really means. When I keep telling people that the Europeans had an opportunity for those that wanted the opportunity, it was never by force, it was always by choice, but someone deliberately misled them about who we were and what was going on. They were supposed to get into the bloodline and get their own melanin and get a more of a spiritual connection with the cosmic power, if that makes any sense. Now, a lot of them were on some whole, you're black and you're this and you're that, and, you know, they just totally missed the point, and people keep asking me, what about this one race, and what about this this new, what is the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word, but for lack of better words, colorless society or something that they're talking about. And I'm saying to people, it's too late. They missed that. That ship has already sailed, and they missed the boat. So what I hear a lot of melanin-rich people talking about is, oh, yeah, the Europeans were grafted out, and they were grafted. No, you don't graft out. You can only graft in, okay? It's not possible to graft something out. Now, it says here, grafting. Grafting means the uniting parts of two plants so that they grow as one. The scion, S-C-I-O-N, or scion, C-I-O-N, which these other crazy people think is Zion, and they on some whole other, because they don't understand when melanin-rich people are talking, because they were having a very difficult time comprehending the way we speak. But the scion, which is the part that is grafted on the root part or the stock. Now remember, stock is the parent. Roots are the parent. It says the most important reason for grafting is propagation, especially of seedless plants or those that do not grow from true seed. But they were on some whole what they call black. I hate black and I hate black. And it's like, what they call black people, they never done nothing to them except try to show them a better way to be. And it was never by force. It was always by choice. However, with them, it's always by force. We're going to beat it into you. We're going to torture it into you. We're going to compel you and force you to go our way. That's patriarchy. Compulsion against one's will. That's patriarchal. That's never the way of the mother. It's always the way of a father. A mother, for the most part, is like, well, just give them time, baby. They'll figure it out. Just give them time. They'll evolve. They'll get it. It just takes time. That's matriarchy. Show them and give them their own time.